Critique of Pure Reason, published way back in 1781 with a second edition in 1787, is Immanuel Kant's seminal work in philosophy. It's particularly renowned for establishing the critical method in philosophy by, well, examining the very foundations of human knowledge. The book is quite interestingly divided into two main parts, the transcendental aesthetic and the transcendental logic. Now, the latter further breaks into the transcendental analytic and the transcendental dialectic. In the introduction and the transcendental aesthetic, Kant begins by asking this fundamental question: how is synthetic a priori knowledge possible? That is, how can we have knowledge that is both true independently of experience, what we call a priori, and at the same time extends our understanding beyond mere definitions, making it synthetic? He then introduces an important distinction between a priori and a posteriori knowledge, as well as between analytic and synthetic judgments. The transcendental aesthetic, in particular, addresses the forms of intuition, namely space and time. Kant argues that these forms are not derived from experience, but are, in fact, the very conditions that make experience possible. Space and time, he posits, are pure forms of sensible intuition, inherent within the mind itself. Transcendental logic. Transcendental analytic explores how synthetic a priori judgments are possible through the application of the 12 categories of the understanding, concepts like substance, causality, and so on, to the manifold of intuition. Kant introduces his famous Copernican revolution in philosophy, suggesting, well, that objects must conform to our way of knowing, rather than our knowledge conforming to objects. He also discusses the synthesis of intuitions through the categories, which ultimately leads to the unity of a perception, I think, that must accompany all my representations. Here, Kant introduces the distinction between phenomena or appearances and noumena or things in themselves. He argues that we can only know phenomena through the structures of our cognition. Now, the transcendental dialectic critiques the use of reason when it transcends the limits of possible experience, which honestly leads to metaphysical illusions. Kant discusses three sets of ideas, or dialectical concepts: the psychological, which concerns the soul; the cosmological, which pertains to the world; and the theological, which is about God. He examines the antinomies of pure reason, which are, well, contradictions that arise when reason tries to extend beyond empirical knowledge to answer questions about the totality of things. Kant shows that these contradictions are resolvable if one recognizes that they apply only to phenomena, not to noumena. Kant concludes that while pure reason can lead to illusions when misused, it also has a legitimate role in organizing and structuring experience. He proposes a critical philosophy where metaphysics must be reformed to conform to the limits of human understanding. The critique establishes the boundaries of human knowledge, suggesting that while we can know phenomena through our cognitive structures, the thing in itself remains, well, unknowable. The critique of pure reason not only marks a watershed in philosophy, but also influences subsequent philosophical thought by setting new terms for debates in epistemology, metaphysics, and ethics. Kant's work is, admittedly, daunting due to its complexity, density, and the depth of its conceptual framework, but it fundamentally reshapes our understanding of knowledge, reality, and human cognition. This has been Immanuel Kant's Critique of Pure Reason. Cheers for watching Speedbook Reviews. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to our YouTube channel.